Next up, your scary stories.
I have pretty much worked every day of my life since about age 13. I was the type of kid that didn't want to work at McDonald's or retail, but worked real jobs. I did demolition, worked in an auto shop, worked in construction, and worked for a guy that did flooring. I knew that my parents were planning to kick me out of the house when I turned 18, but in actuality, they kicked me out when I was 17 just as high school ended, some 4 months before I turned 18. Anyway, one of the guys I worked for paid me under the table. I didn't get an hourly wage, just a pay based on the job at hand. He would tell me, "You have to go in and tear out all the flooring, or all the cabinets, or gut the entire place, and it pays $200. But you have to get it done in however many nights he said it would." You see, he worked on bars, restaurants, shopping centers, office buildings, and things like that, where we could only work during the night, which worked out for me because I could only work after school and weekends. One time he told me about a job where I was supposed to go in and remove all the old glued-down carpet and remove the black rubber base throughout a set of offices. It sounded easy enough, he said. The job was going to take a couple weeks. That was all right with me, because at the time I was saving for my first car. The building we were going to was part of some kind of base. It was like a military base, but not really active in that part. It was a huge set of buildings that were all empty, except the occasional desk or empty filing cabinets. But there was like a break room area that we were not working in that had some vending machines, like for hot coffee, chicken soup. Another vending machine had candy bars, and another had sodas. I made sure to bring all my free change with me along with my lunch. So the first day he takes me and shows me all the areas where I had to remove the flooring. The place was like a maze with long hallways and different office buildings and storage rooms. Some of the rooms lead out to a large storage warehouse that still had a lot of equipment, mostly like office machines, boxes, and other equipment that looked like medical stuff. We were not supposed to go in there, but I saw it. The first night he was there with me, mostly setting up stuff and marking the rooms that were to be worked on. I remember he had a can or red spray paint and just sprayed an X in the middle of each room on the old carpet. He also set up a couple large dumpsters for me to throw the debris in and got me a large wheeled cart to put the debris in, as the longest point from the office to the dumpster seemed like walking over a city block. I sure got my leg work out each time I went. The first night since he was there, and I could blast my music as loud as I wanted because the place was dead empty, I just went working my way from office to office, removing old glued-down carpet and rubber wall base. I was told to be careful not to rip the drywall as I was removing the black rubber base, so I would go down with a large putty knife and cut the glue away as I removed it. The average office would fill up the wheeled cart, so I would have to make trips to go empty the cart after each room. Most of the hallways had those timed light switches where you turn the knob and it gave you like 30 minutes of light. The second night, I had assumed my boss would be there with me, but nope. He went on to finish another job and said he would be back to pick me up around 5 a.m. So I worked from about 7 p.m. till about 5 a.m. By 5 a.m., I was waiting for him at the curb. The second night that I was alone in this huge building, well, I swear everything started to get to me. It seemed like the lights would just go off randomly and shorter than it should have. I did my best not to freak myself out over this. I didn't have time to get scared or imagine things, just pull up glued down carpet, roll it up and put it in the cart, remove the black rubber base, pile them up in the cart. I soon decided that instead of making multiple trips with one cart load, that I would just start stacking up debris in the hallways as I went from office to office. Some of the hallways had carpet too, so I worked doing them too. I would take a break about every 3 to 4 hours to go down to the break room, buy a can of Coke or maybe a coffee, wash up, and eat a sandwich that I brought. Several times I would walk out of the break room or even the restroom, and the entire hallway would be pitch black. I would go find the switches and turn them back on. One time, I was at an end of the hallway, and it was a dead end with 2 offices on either side. No exit, just end of the hallway. The lights went out again. I flipped them back on by turning the knob, and I swear, I saw movement down the hall, like if someone crossed in the dark down the hall. I called out, "Hello, is anyone there?" No response. I don't doubt that people who worked on base might come over maybe to the storage area, but this was like 2 a.m. at this point. The next night, I brought a flashlight with me so that if the lights went out again, I could turn on the flashlight. It wasn't so bad when you were in one of the offices, but in the hallway it was darker than dark. One of the odd things, too, was the fact that most of the offices didn't have any windows. A lot of these offices were deep inside the building, so they were like in the middle of the building, so no windows, not that any outside light would help anyway. That same night, my batteries on my radio went out, so I had a lot of silent work ahead of me. I started to hear weird noises like creaking sounds, like if a door somewhere was slowly being opened. Another time I heard a loud bang, like if something slammed against metal. On one of my trips to use the restroom, I hear what sounded like a machine being used somewhere. Another time when lights went out, as I put them back on, I saw a shadow again. I called out, but no one was there. The last night I was working a little more closer to the exit area, where there was like a loading dock and where the dumpsters were. It was near the door to the large warehouse facility. That night I had replenished my radio battery and brought my Walkman as backup. I still had my flashlight and brought a little cooler with me for drinks, so that I didn't have to venture back into the hallways to find the break room. I even resigned myself to pissing behind the loading docks outside, rather than go to the nearest bathroom. Like I said earlier, I had put a lot of debris in the hallways as I was working from room to room, so for the last couple hours finishing up, I was wheeling debris to the dumpsters, and as I walked back down a hallway that was an L shape that led deeper into the endless hallways, I looked up and saw that lights far off in the distance were on. I was like, nope. I hurried up my last bits of cleaning up and just started taking all my tools outside to wait for my boss. He was a little late picking me up that morning, but I started to feel better when the sunlight started to break. He went in to check on my work. He was only gone for about 15 minutes, but I get the feeling he was also in a rush to get out of there because he ran back to the truck, looking very shaken up, and was like, "Okay, good to go." I never went back inside, and never wanted to ever again. I'm sure my boss felt the same, although he never really spoke of it again. I am not sure what kind of office building it was. It was government, probably part of the military. Nothing had names or signs except odd signs with numbers and letters that I could remember. That was one really weird and creepy odd job that I did in high school, and I'm not sure what kind of spirits lived in there, but they didn't appreciate my loud music or me using the lights.
I was playing the PlayStation 5 online with a friend. All of a sudden, I could hear screaming. Not on the game, but real screaming. From my side. It was so loud that even my friend heard it through my mic. It was coming from outside my house. I walked out with the headset on and still connected to the game through Bluetooth. The screaming was horrific. Literally sounded like someone was being murdered, but over and over again. I had a replica of Stormbreaker, Thor's axe. So I took that and went over to the house. As I got there, my headset lost connection, so my friend couldn't hear me. I knocked on the door, and the screaming imminently stopped. I heard footsteps coming pretty quickly from inside the house to the door, so I got ready to witness or create a scene. This lady, probably about late 20s, early 30s, opened the door. I was shaking. I said, "Hi, miss, are you all right? Me and my mate could hear screaming even with my headset on." She, for some reason, grinned and went, "Oh yeah, I'm so sorry, that was me." I said, "Oh, well, are you okay?" And she goes, "Yeah, I walked in on my mom's dead body." Now at the time I thought, oh damn, that's pretty fucked, and yeah, I'd be upset if I walked in on that too, but I wouldn't be screaming like that. I so wish I recorded it because it was blood-curdling screaming. As I said, it sounded like someone was being murdered over and over again. I just said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, miss," and kind of looked at her funny. I explained if she needed anything, I'm up the road, and I wished her the best. Then she just walked away into the house without even closing the door. I closed it for her and walked back up the hill towards my house, and my headset connected back to my mate. I explained to him what happened, and he said, "You don't scream like that, and for that long when walking in on that." Keep in mind the screaming was going on for about 20 minutes before I worked the courage up to go down and investigate. What sold the deal, though, was I got home, the screaming started back up again. How did they go from screaming to smiling and no tears or anything on their face to going back in and screaming again? Curiosity got the better of me, and I called the police for a welfare check. A couple hours later, they went over, but not from my phone call, just because there was a death and police had to investigate. They never got back to me about what happened, but now no one lives in that house. I think often about that day. Did I look a murderer in the eye? Could I have prevented a murder? What happened in that house?